Alright, so got nothing else to do. So I'm going to go over the DM870, modifications I've done in detail, and just basic overview of how it is altogether. Start off, it's a Dominator DM870 shell ejecting gas shotgun. This is sort of the standard model with the 4+1 magazine tube and full-length barrel. They do make other, well, they don't really make these anymore, so they're hard to get. You can only get them overseas. New, of course. You might be able to find some used ones floating around the US. But they do, some companies still have this version and a couple other versions in stock. They have a wood one. They've got like a sawed-off wood one. But yeah. Comes pre-drilled and tapped, as you can see with the 4 screws for a rail out top. I believe that this sort of pattern of screws is not an 870 pattern, but more like a Mossberg pattern. From what I've been told, this can fit real 870 or I believe some Mossberg parts. This is a heat shield for an 870. That's just a plastic one. It was pretty cheap and I just like the look. I'll probably get a different one later on. Originally, it only had one pin that held in the trigger group, unlike a real one. There was a fake pin engraved, but I drilled and I converted it so it was a rear pin and a front pin as well. That way, disassembly was a little bit better. Before, if you want to take the trigger group out to do anything, clean, maintain, fix, you would actually have to take the stock off as well. You would take the stock off and then you punch the pin out, and then this would sort of just slide out the back. But taking the stock off is just a pain. Not really, but it's just annoying because it's all flathead screws. So I did away with that. Basically, trigger group, I'm not going to take it out, but for this video. But pretty much there's another video. Guy goes in detail what he did. I believe you use a real 870 rear takedown pin, a real 870 rear takedown pin retaining clip, and a real 870 rear takedown pin sleeve that goes into a trigger group. But he goes into more detail, and he also has links in his description on how to do it. There's only like one other guy who goes into detail about conversions for the DM870. But pretty much, besides the stock, the trigger group housing / trigger guard, and foregrip is not steel but plastic. It's like a nylon fiber. Before y'all say, oh, why did they make the trigger group plastic, blah blah blah. Well, real 870s, most of them are plastic as well. Only certain models or aftermarket ones available will be metal. I believe the Magnum edition of the 870 or the police model, or both, came with a full metal trigger guard and trigger group. But everything else in here, steel receiver, steel bolt, steel outer, steel tube, magazine tubes, steel shell riser arm or loading gate, steel bolt, steel firing pin. I mean, everything is steel. I mean, even the end cap. Of course, the pump arms are steel. That's most important. So it's a pretty hefty, solid gun. It's heavy, obviously. Not overly heavy, but it's just heavy in the way where it's just, I don't know how to describe it. It's just how it's supposed to be. I have owned a DM870 before, or not DM870, a CAM870. And obviously those are a little easier to get, a little easier to find parts. Technically, it comes pretty much out the box ready to fire CAM870 shells. Whereas this one doesn't. Let me just unload this. Well, it's not loaded, they just have shells in here. So there we go. These are the DM870 shells. As you can see, it's like a PPS or a Maruzen type shell. I took the actual fill stem and firing mechanism out because I don't use these and they kind of suck. Nothing against DM870. I probably just didn't maintain the shells well enough, but I didn't really care to anyway to begin with. But as you can see, there's just one hole here, an O-ring to retain the BBs, so you can fill these up to 4 BBs. The nice thing about these shells, though, well, the only nice thing I liked about these shells was the fact that with one gas fill, you could do multiple shots, up to I think 3 to 4 if you're lucky, before refilling with gas, which was nice. But other than that, I mean, it's just green gas. They have CO2 ones. I just have green gas ones. But the green gas ones, pushing 3 to 4 BBs out of a single inner barrel, just, it was decent. But of course, you know, I got this to convert to CAM870 shells. I want that 12 BB spread. If I'm gonna have the trouble of a shell ejecting shotgun, I'm gonna have 12 BB spread. Of course, I could have just gone with a JAG, non-shell ejecting. I can choose between 3 to 6 shots. I had one HPA tapped and it was pretty good, but still, it's a shotgun. I want it to be sturdy. The CAM870 and the JAGs are just not sturdy. They're not built with good materials, so they're just not sturdy. And with a pump action, you have to be rough. You want to have a nice, good, hard rearward pump of that action to make sure you clear that empty shell. So not just, besides just having the ability to shoot 12 BBs per shot, I wanted a pump action that I could actually pump like it is a real gun. So this one you can pump all day, different angles, trying to torque it the wrong way, and it will just chug. But the reason I took the stems out was just to make it lighter, and so they would eject a little nicer, since these were heavy with the stems in. They're still quite heavy. But this, I no longer have an inner barrel in. So let me start disassembling this. Unlike the CAM870, this disassembles closer to a real 870. So I'll start telling you when it's getting different. So this is still standard to what a CAM870 would disassemble like. This is the outer barrel with no inner barrel anymore. Let me see if I can. There's no inner barrel in there. So that's like a CAM870. Taking that off. Where it differs is with the CAM870, you would then have to take out these 4 screws that retained the magazine tube. But since this is constructed like a real 870, the magazine tube is actually brazed or soldered in to the receiver. So not only is that a way stiffer and stronger joint, it just helps with the pumping, because I know with my CAM870, you didn't want to strip those screws because it wasn't going into steel. It was going into pot metal or aluminum. So those holes were easily strippable if you were torquing down the screws wrong. But if you left those screws too loose, your magazine tube would actually flex. This is soldered in. There's no flex. It's not going anywhere. Also, with the CAM870, you would have to take the magazine tube out to get the bolt out. I'm not 100% remembering how I took the bolt out. I think there was like a couple other screws I had to take out. But it was a pain in the ass to get the bolt out. To do any internal work besides a trigger group on a CAM870, you had to do so much extra work. But with this, like a real one of the shell latch arms underneath, you push it down, and the bolt, I mean, look at that. It comes right off. So other than the trigger group mod that I did with this rear takedown pin, it's pretty much stock in there. So I'm gonna put this to the side. Here is the bolt. Now, as you could see with the base of these shells, how big the primer, I guess you could call it, on these shells was the same diameter as the firing pin on here pretty much. So there was a very big firing pin face. Obviously with APS shells, there's a lot smaller of a firing mechanism, I guess you could call it. So you do have to modify the, if I can get it to focus. There we go. So I'm not gonna go too much on what I did, but there is a collar that is sort of peened around the firing pin that does two things. That makes the face of the firing pin bigger, obviously to fire the bigger primer. Also does is it stops it from being able to fire real shotgun shells, and it would stop the actual firing pin because it's under spring pressure. It stops it from just falling out the back of the bolt. So since I had to take that out, no, it still cannot fire a real shell. I just want to get that out the way. This will not fire a real shell. As you can see, the firing pin is still way too big to fire a real shotgun shell. Two, it would probably blow up the barrel. So not only is it illegal, it is dangerous, and I do not condone it at all, unless if you have the proper training and the proper paperwork, of course, to do so. But anyway, to get around the issue, like a real 870, to get around the issue of the firing pin just falling out the back, is you have to drill a hole, which I had to do, is drill a hole through the back of the bolt. And I don't know why, but the actual firing pin for a DM870 has the cutout for a pin retention system like this on a real, I guess you'd say a real 870 bolt or a CAM870 bolt. So I just don't know why they didn't do that in the first place, probably because of safety and legal reasons. But the firing pin itself has a notch cut out. In the firing pin, there's a notch cut out for a retaining pin. This pin is really hard in there, so I'm not going to try to punch it out right now to show you. But basically, you find the center line of the hole for the firing pin and just pick a side where you want the pin to retain the firing pin, and you drill a hole for an appropriate size pin. So it's something you definitely want to do your measurements like 5 times in a row just to make sure. And it's a little tricky to do. I started off on the back side, of course, because it's a flat surface, and anybody who's drilled holes into metal knows drilling on a flat surface is a lot easier, especially on steel, because this is not a hardened steel, but it's a hardened steel, so it takes a while for it to bite in and actually get a hold of something. So I drilled through and got a pin, cut it to size, and it's in there. It's not really going anywhere. It's a pain to get out, but once it's in there, and you don't really ever have to take it out. But there we go. So yeah, that is my DM870 conversion. I am currently waiting for some CAM870 shells to come in. Hopefully they come in soon. I know with this whole virus thing going on, it's going to take a while, but hopefully they come in soon, because I want to shoot this, especially now that it's converted to CAM870 shells. I want to test it out. But I know I did order a mag tube extension, so for a 6+1. So basically that's just going to be the mag tube extension, just going to barely come up to the end of the muzzle. One, give me a couple extra shells. Two, I like that look a little bit better, more of a tactical, military, or law enforcement shotgun look. I got a front green fiber optic sight. For the rear, I got a Dominator rear peep sight that also has a small section of Picatinny rail. So it's got like a ghost ring peep sight in the back and a little bit of rail section in case I want to mount like a red dot or something. Let's see what else. Since this is a full steel gun, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to wonder, what are you going to do about catching shells, or are you going to pick them up? Definitely going to make a shell catcher. But you know, depending on how the days are going, you know, I might just pick them up after a game, especially if it's just an indoor game. You know, I'll just tell teammates and whatever to look out for shells, and if they find them, just give them to me later. Obviously, it's a really crowded game and I'm firing a lot. I'm not going to do that. I might just use the shell catcher, but since this is a full steel receiver, I was thinking about getting those like little mesh bags that people use when they go to the beach to store stuff in. Just, you know, mesh bag about that big. And where the lanyard is for the pull string, I was going to put like magnets, magnets that are in bars, or if I can, which would be awesome, is find like a flexible magnet that I can bend into a square, and that will just stick to the receiver. Because like I said, it's full steel. The magnets stick very well. I don't have a magnet on me, do I? I can't find it right now, but if I can get some neodymium magnets, they stick. I can. You won't have to worry about them budging, and it'll be easy. I can just grab it real good, yank it off, put it in my dump pouch, take an empty one, throw it on, and boom, I'm ready to go. Don't gotta worry about jamming. So that's my plan. I know you could get an APS one and put it over, but if I get that rear sight with a rail section, it's not gonna clamp over. So I'm most likely just gonna go with a magnet version. If anything, I'll probably look into something else. I even thought about just having something clip onto the gun and literally have like a chute, like a fabric chute that just goes to a dump pouch on my front. That way I can just keep pumping it all day and the shells would just automatically fall down the chute into my dump pouch. But you never know. We'll see. I mean, I gotta use this in a game just to begin with, just to see how my playstyle is with it, because it's definitely different being shell ejecting. But that's the DM870 converted to APS shells. I've been itching now since I converted it to play. But one, there's no playing going on at all with the coronavirus, and two, I'm still waiting on shells. But if you have any questions, comments, ideas for this build, please let me know, and see you guys soon.